Sarah's heart pounded as she hurried out of the gas station, the weight of judgment pressing against her back with each step. The morning had started like any other. Scrubs freshly laundered, hair neatly pulled back, the familiar routine of stopping for her energy drink before the long shift ahead. But in an instant, everything had changed. She could still hear the gasps, the sudden commotion that erupted behind her in the checkout line. A middle-aged man had clutched his chest, his face contorting in pain before he collapsed to the tile floor with a thud that seemed to echo through the small convenience store. In that moment, time had slowed down.
Flight right onto the boulevard.
You're a nurse, right? Please help him. The man's wife had pleaded, her eyes wide with desperation as she looked at Sarah's scrubs, the uniform that had suddenly transformed from simple work clothes into a silent oath that everyone expected her to honor.
Flight right
Sarah
onto the
had felt her throat tighten.
ramp.
Only months before, her colleague Elena had faced financial ruin after stopping at a highway accident. Despite being protected by Good Samaritan laws, despite winning the lawsuit filed against her, Elena had been left with crippling legal bills and sleepless nights filled with anxiety. Elena had done everything right medically, but the protection of the law had come with a price tag she couldn't afford. Standing in that gas station, with all eyes on her, Sarah made a decision that would haunt her. Call 911 immediately, she had instructed the frantic wife, her voice steadier than she felt. Stay with him, and if he stops breathing, start chest compressions. The EMTs will be here quickly. Then, ignoring the rising chorus of disapproval, Sarah had walked out. As she drove to work, her knuckles white against the steering wheel, the woman's sobs echoed in her mind, the muttered criticisms from other customers. What kind of healthcare worker does that? Stung like physical blows. But beneath the shame burned a sense of bitter injustice. The system had placed her in an impossible position. Risk her financial security and possibly her career to help a stranger, or protect herself and live with the moral weight of walking away. At the hospital, the debate among her colleagues was immediate and heated. The break room crackled with tension as nurses and technicians took sides. You did what you had to do, asserted Michael, a veteran nurse who had witnessed Elena's ordeal firsthand. The law says you're not obligated to help when you're off duty. It's the same in most states. But we take an oath, Jasmine countered, her voice tight with disapproval. What if that were your father on the floor? Sarah listened to both sides, her coffee cooling untouched before her. The argument wasn't just about her choice that morning. It was about a broken system that forced healthcare workers to choose between compassion and self-preservation. Look what happened to Elena. Sarah finally spoke up. She did everything right medically and still had to empty her savings to defend herself. I gave that woman the exact instructions I would have followed myself. I told her what to do until professionals arrived. And if he died while you drove away? Someone asked softly from across the room. The question lingered heavily in the air, unanswerable. Later that night, as Sarah charted patient information mechanically, the weight of the morning's events still pressed on her shoulders. She had entered healthcare to save lives, to make a difference. Never had she imagined a day when she would walk away from someone in need. Yet the system had created this impossible contradiction, expecting selfless sacrifice while offering protection that came with potentially devastating financial consequences. What would happen, she wondered, if healthcare workers collectively refused to risk their livelihoods by helping in emergencies outside their workplace? Would the laws change? Or would the already strained healthcare system simply lose more dedicated professionals unable to reconcile their calling with self-protection? As she drove home under a canopy of stars, Sarah wondered if the man had survived, if her instructions had been enough, if the EMTs had arrived in time. She would never know. All she knew was that tomorrow she would put on her scrubs again and return to caring for her assigned patients, the only ones the system truly allowed her to help without risking everything. What would you have done in Sarah's position? Is our healthcare system failing both patients and providers by creating these impossible choices? Share your thoughts below.